It's July 2005, and I'm standing at the departure gate of Perth International Airport. And my mother isn't speaking to me. In fact, she hasn't spoken to me for 6 months because I announced that I would be leaving my university degree midway to launch a career in entertainment in the city she migrated away from with much effort, Singapore. If you have an Asian tiger mother here, who has an Asian tiger mother? Raise your hand. That is like declaring you're going to go out and commit murder. But begrudgingly, she's come to the airport to see me off. Without saying a word, she shoves a pink envelope in my hand. It's a Hallmark card from my father's news agency that we recently sold after his death the year before. I enter through departure and then I open the envelope and $500 Australian in cash falls out onto my lap. That is the $500 that I used to launch my international broadcasting career. I read the card and it says, "Be good." Fast forward another 4 years, and this time I've been living in Singapore, but I'm about to leave. In 1 month, I'll be moving to Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. I got poached very randomly from a radio station in Singapore that was not even making a dent in the ratings. And the brand that I was going to work for was my dream brand in the whole world, Virgin Radio, the McDonald's of international radio stations, and Richard Branson would be my boss. I had no qualms to move to the Middle East at 24 as a single woman who didn't know anyone. And by coincidence, my mother was visiting Singapore for a family wedding at this time. We're on slightly better terms. I meet her in the lobby of her hotel where she's staying with my sister, and she's rolling her eyes at some Ang Mo guy that I've dated and decide to introduce to her. And she hands me another envelope. This time it's white. I open it, and it's a card. She's now bought it cheap from a cold storage because Hallmark is expensive. She doesn't get them free from my dad's shop anymore. And out falls a newspaper clipping. And it's an article about a British couple in Dubai who are arrested for having sex on a public beach. And the card reads, "Be good, be safe." Fast forward another 4 years. This time I've been living in the UAE, having the time of my life. That radio station was no longer just a radio station. It had become a lifestyle for people, the way Google is. I got it in there. It had become a lifestyle. And I was on billboards, I was endorsing products. I was adopted by that city in a way that the country I grew up in never adopted me, nor did the country of my birth adopt me. And like many people who earn a lot of money when they're really young and get successful when they're really young, I started to believe my own hype. I thought I was J-Lo in Dubai. And my ego was huge. So one day I'm hosting an event, just like what Jay was doing, just like this, and I get off stage and I open my handbag and my mobile phone is ringing. Have you ever had that? It's really weird. You go to grab your phone and by coincidence someone's calling. But I froze in my tracks because it was from a private number. And no one calls me from a private number except my sister. And we're not that close. We don't call just to talk. We're too busy out there competing with each other after our mother raised us that way. So when I saw this, my heart literally sank to my stomach. And I picked up the phone and my sister said one word, "Simone?" And I knew in that moment that something was wrong with my mother. Because you see, I'd received a phone call like that before, in 2004, when a doctor rang me to tell me my father would die of terminal cancer in 90 days. And he died to the day. You see, they'd found my mother at the bottom of the shower in my family home. Big 8-bedroom house, long abandoned since us girls had grown up and moved away. A family friend had to bash the door down to get in to find her when she hadn't shown up for dinner. And there she was, naked in the fetal position, vulnerable, terrified, in her own waist. The rest of the conversation with my sister is a blur. But at the end of it, she said to me, if I were you, Simone, I would want to be here. I jumped on a flight 11 hours direct Dubai to Perth, and my heart was beating and pounding in my chest. And that pounding within the next few hours had moved down into my ribcage, and by the time the wheels touched the tarmac at Perth International Airport, the place where this whole thing began, my heartbeat was like a clenched fist inside my stomach, just punching at my gut. And I know what this is actually, because for any of you here, and I know there are a few who've watched one of your direct family members die in front of you, like I had with my dad, that was my body preparing me for what I was about to see. And when I walked into that ward at Fremantle Hospital, I froze. My mother was clinging to life by a thread. She was a shadow of her former self. And the universe whispered in my ear, are you ready to step up? But my ego was huge and it shouted back, are you kidding me? I'm here for 2 weeks, I'm gonna sort this out, and then I'm back to my J-Lo lifestyle. I'm out, people. But then, in the week that followed, of course I spent every day with my mum, and I saw complete strangers bathing her, washing her, wiping her butt after she went to the toilet, the absolute indignity of this. And I was racked with guilt in a way that I think only women really understand because it's bred into our nurturing nature. I was racked with guilt, and I knew that that should be me. It shouldn't be a stranger doing that for her. And then the doctors pulled my sister aside and said to us that she will never walk again. And it's at this point that the universe that had whispered spoke very clearly and said, are you ready to step up? But my ego shouted back, was like, are you kidding? Step up, give up everything that I've built from $500 to take care of this woman who didn't even support me in my dream in the first place? But on the last day before I went back to Dubai, I went to visit my mother in the ward, and she was lying there on a single bed, and she reached her remaining good arm out to touch mine. And she clenched my fist and spoke in a voice that I don't even recognize as her voice. It wasn't the tiger mother, it wasn't the disciplinarian. My mother was an RGS school teacher. She got the voice. It was vulnerable and terrified and soft. And she clenched my hand and she said, please don't go. Come back and take care of me. And the universe that had whispered, that had then spoken clearly, howled. And it said, Simone, are you ready to step up? And this time, my ego was silent. Because here's a couple of things about stepping up. Firstly, it doesn't happen at a time that is convenient or comfortable for you. That's not stepping up if that happens. And secondly, in the wake of true compassion, kindness, sacrifice, that kind of stepping up, your ego is obliterated. And that's the first takeaway. That is the best thing that can happen when you step up, is that your ego takes a backseat. The other thing that they don't tell you about stepping up is the incredible rewards. I went back to Dubai, I resigned from my job. 6 months later, I was in Perth showering my mum, taking her to the toilet. And when my sister and I got her into a 24-hour care facility, my load lightened and it became less about doing her makeup, less about the physical things. But I got to know this mother that I didn't recognize. This was not the tiger mother that wouldn't talk to you if you didn't get 100% on an exam. This was someone who stepped up also as a mother at the same time I stepped up as a daughter. She was still feisty, but hilarious and cute and spirited and affectionate. I mean, I spent my entire childhood getting a back pat. You know, I now get a chest embrace. Look at what I have now. This is what they don't tell you about stepping up, that the rewards are amazing. So I want to leave you with this today. We all have relationships in our lives right now that are pending improvement, that require us to step up. Please don't be like me and leave it to a tragedy to be the catalyst to improve that relationship. Do it now if you can, and the rewards await you. Thank you.